Good evening and welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for the Town of Sydney for March 20th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock, right on the nose. And welcome the public that are in council chambers tonight attending, and those that are online and those that may be listening later. I'd also like to welcome staff that are attending and online as well. And to my committee, thank you for coming out tonight. On my far left is Councillor Novak, Councillor O'Keefe, Councillor Rentoul, and to my right is Mayor McNeil-Smith, Councillor Duncan, and Councillor Garnett. And with that, I'd like to also do a territorial acknowledgement. We are acknowledged with gratitude. We live, learn, and work on the traditional lands of the Wasanic people who have been and continue to be the stewards caring for this land and all life on it for time immemorial. We welcome opportunities of how we can better live together. I thank them for being here, and Haishka. Moving on to item number 3, do we have any changes to the agenda as presented?
I would move the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is passed, unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move on to public participation, and this is a session where we have an opportunity for the public to get up and speak on any item on the agenda. As we have a special public participation later relative to the development application, any public wish to speak to the grants and aid? Any call second time? And I will officially close public participation. I'll now seek a motion to approve the minutes of the regular committee of the whole meeting, March 6, 2023.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passed unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move on to presentations, and we have none, but we have a development application and development permit number DP100837 and development variance permit number DV100322 for 9824 5th Street to relax vehicle parking and commercial loading space requirements in order to develop an additional commercial space within the building at 9824 5th Street. And I believe we have a presentation by the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Schick.
Mayor and Council, thank you very much for hearing our proposed development presentation. And that's great, thank you. Just a quick summary on this, and I'll try to be as brief as possible because this is actually a development that you have seen and approved at this very committee previously in August 2022. So it is fundamentally the same project. The owner, Victor Negrea, behind me here, currently operates the Beacon Pet Hospital on 5th Street and has purchased this in late 2021, early 22 to permanently move his clinic there. So, and also on top of the fact that you previously approved this, I unfortunately wasn't the person giving the presentation last time. It was Sylvia Bonnet. And this is something I just know a little bit more than she does. And specific to the history, this space, I've been attached to it in previous iterations as part of the temporary space for the Star Cinema. So some of the building challenges I was very aware of, but until we actually got Committee of the Whole approval and asked to be moved to Advisory Planning Commission, did I realize there's a far more sordid history with the legal side of this building. So I'm not sure of your level of familiarity with the Strata Act of BC, but the long and the short of it is anything you do to improve the your own strata lot and that affects the common property ownership, i.e. the other owners in your strata, they can just effectively not sign off on these changes. So the design that we've come back to you with today is the same design that you approved, just condensed into the confines of the existing building walls that you see. Also too, previously we were proposing a residential suite on the 2nd floor so that Mr. Negrea could import staff, and help with his business, retain talent. But due to some of the challenges that that Mr. Negrea encountered during his negotiation process with the other owner, trying to get that individual to sign off and approve the strata amendment of the previous design, Victor capitulated and will, look towards the future to perhaps, try to redevelop the second floor for residential suites. But so this development is purely office. So as you'll see on our site plan, we've updated it just to note that we can only provide 3 parking stalls, so we're short 3 based on our use. And just a note to that parking variance request. The report, I noted that staff recommended at least 1 payment in lieu for parking, the $20,000 stall. And I just would ask each and every one of you to kind of reconsider or consider the impact of that decision. My client is not a property developer. My client is a business owner. And so when you simply request payment in lieu, developers can, our other clientele can spread that impact to their finances across multiple sales. So this would be just an additional charge to my client to overcome on top of the construction financing and the investment that he's going to, financial investment he's going to make for this project. Oh, I did it. I looked at the screen and I pressed it. Sorry. So this is the revised clinic. As you'll see here, we've kept it within the confines of the existing building. So we're not, by the Strata Act, we're not allowed to expand the footprint at all. But we were able to, through some slight modification and some reduction in the potential services, incorporate all of his wishes into this main floor clinic design. It has a staff area in the back. It's got imaging, on-site lab, doctor's office, 4 treatment rooms, a surgery room, basically everything that would provide him with a functional animal hospital. And upstairs, the plan is to just provide the shells, and then, as he, the shell space for offices, and as prospective tenants come online, there may be some additional improvements, but he's offering just the shell space for potential future tenants, and there's bike parking and tenant storage upstairs as well. The exterior design incorporates what we were proposing previously, but just really relies more so on paint and using the application of paint and color that way, as opposed to actually rebuilding the exterior wall assembly, which is unfortunate because due to the age and the construction type of the building, the envelope will be an ongoing maintenance concern, whereas our previous design would have incorporated a brand new building envelope, at least on the east facade. So as you can see, we've tried to utilize the existing window openings as best we can, because again, this is where we start to get into the legalities of the Strata Act as to how much you can and cannot do. But there will be demarcation signage above the entrance to the clinic, and then also to the second floor entrance. On the back of the building, the same approach was done previously. We were just utilizing paint colors to paint the existing concrete block to refresh the envelope appearance, and same with the north-facing wall to the condo building to the north of us. So while I can appreciate that the variances are minor, again, that issue of the payment in lieu is something that I request that you each take a long look at. And, it would be an unfortunate additional expense considering the fact that my client has encountered somewhat of an 8-month or 6-month additional delay due to the negotiating process of stratas. Also, on top of that, it would be good to see, or it would be great to find ways for councils to empower staff to work with owners to get uses that aren't permitted in the town core or in certain zoning, and find better homes for them, because ultimately the existing tenant to the south is preventing the readaptive and reuse and the improvement of an existing building stock in your town. So I don't know what legal avenues there are, but because I don't do what you do, and I respectfully, I say that with respect, just so that people like my client can hopefully find a finish line to what has been a long and windy road. Thank you. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your presentation. Committee members, questions? Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. Thanks for the information. A few questions. First of all, how does these new premises compare to the existing premises that the business owner has?
Currently, my understanding is I've been to the clinic over on 5th Street, and Mr. Negrea is very adaptive at using every last square inch of his space to his benefit. And I would say he probably could use 1.5 times the current floor space that he has. And my understanding is there's a bit of an issue with the condos upstairs because of noise. And that space was never really intended to be anything other than an office. So there's been some challenges with a very confined space that he's currently located in over on 5th.
Okay, so these new premises that he's proposing
Yeah.
will be larger than what he's wanting to expand then from what he currently has.
Yeah, the previous design that you approved was optimal size. This has just been a bit of a reduction. It's about 2,500 square feet, give or take, and ideally it would be 3,000 would be just right, but
Right.
we've reshuffled some things and redesigned and condensed some spaces to accommodate it.
Okay, so it looks like it's, just looking at the floor plan, it looks like it's gonna be a pretty busy place for exam room, surgery, a space looks like for doctors, for 3 working stations,
Yeah.
manager,
Mhm.
reception,
Mhm.
seating for 11 people in the reception area. So what sort of, what would be a normal number of clients that you would see coming in and say in an hour?
That's a very good question. I don't think I could really answer that with any accuracy. I could quickly pull. Victor, what do you figure average clients an hour?
Average clients an hour, I would say maybe 2 to 3.
2
Okay,
to 3 currently, and then anticipated.
Yeah, because it will be surgery in the morning.
So about 2 to 3 per hour.
2 to 3,
okay. And how many employees would there?
For the employees,
You currently have 3.
so currently beside me, we have 3 employees. So maybe additional 3, yeah.
Okay, and so the expectation would be they wouldn't be parking on site then?
No, there is no parking on site.
Okay. Also, that's great, thank you for that. So part of the rationale was that it's close to transit. Is it a common occurrence that people bring in they use transit or biking to bring in pets?
I think for small animals that could say
Yeah.
yes. Not
Yeah.
I wouldn't think big dogs. No.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, a bit of, that was kind of a rationale for
Mhm.
reduced parking, but having been a pet owner, it doesn't seem likely that would be
Mhm.
something that many would take their pet to the vet on a bus. You've talked about some issues with the adjoining strata owner, the automotive repair business, and they had talked about concern about noise and vibration. And how that might impact the animals or the people there. Are you looking at taking any particular measures to try and mitigate that, or do you have any concerns about, that excessive noise and vibration, and will that have an impact on your clients or the animals that are there?
A majority of that will be addressed in the process of construction, because we'll have to we'll effectively build a building inside of the building.
Okay,
and insulate the walls, new wiring, new plumbing, new. So the likelihood is that south wall will get, the wall that's the demising wall between the two tenancies will get upgraded additional
Oh,
insulation.
okay.
I mean, having new windows and doors on the exterior of your building will go a long way to, you know, reducing audible noise traveling sort of, you know, coming from outside. But no, it's not, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be impossible.
Right,
Or
okay.
sorry, it's not going to be
Okay.
ideal, but it will be possible to limit the amount that goes through that wall assembly.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think his concern seemed to be that, you know, people might come to him later making noise complaints, but it sounds like you're aware of that and you're making provision, so that's good. In regards to the, so when the owner first looked at this parcel of land, I presume they would have realized what the parking requirement was. And there was a requirement for a number of parking spaces. If the variance isn't approved, what would be their plan B?
It's a very good question. I don't think, I mean, just to speak to your point about the existing parking, I don't think there's much of anything that could go into there that would satisfy the current parking requirements, because the building was built in 1980, I believe, 1981, and subsequently subdivided. And if you take a look at the aerial map, it's about a 60-40 split, maybe 70-30 in terms of space. So the automotive shop has probably half a dozen, if not more, 8 possibly parking spaces, and those are never, I would expect they'd be utilized by 1 or 2 potential customers, and the majority would be cars sitting in them waiting for repair.
Right,
So, you know, how that relates to ours, I guess the plan B, if the variance isn't approved as is we would have to reapply with some reduced floor area such that we could try to conform, i.e. probably meaning we wouldn't be able to develop the second story, which would then sort of undermine the financial viability of this project. I mean, it wouldn't completely diminish it, but it would seriously impact it.
yeah. Okay, that's good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Toole?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I don't have a problem with what's being requested here. I think it's a suitable business for the location. Yep, I'm not concerned about the parking variance that's being requested, because we've got a number of older, small commercial buildings with very limited commercial parking. That's the reality that's there. Employees in the town tend to park and walk to their location of work. So I'm not caught up on that, but I did want to clarify, you've noted a couple of times this project was previously approved. It wasn't. It came before committee of the whole and was referred to APC, so nothing's been approved as of yet. I think it's unfortunate, you know, you made the reference to also maybe staff having, you know, some authority to deal with some of these items. It sounds like most of the hang-up was through the Strata Property Act, provincial legislation, not municipal. And that, again, agreed, it's unfortunate because this building needs a facelift, and it's essentially being denied one, other than a fresh coat of paint. So forgive me, I didn't have any questions, but I wanted to set the record straight.
Yeah, sorry, I would like to correct my earlier statement. I did not mean to frame it as if staff had power to deal with it. We're well aware of what the, you know, staff were working with us to try to facilitate processing of this application. So, you know, I apologize if I somehow intimated that.
Councillor Garnett?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for presentation, Mr. Schick. Just a few, 2 or 3 questions. With regards to the second floor offices, and they're just shells now, I'm trying to, do you have any, what possibly could go in there? I'm just trying to figure out what might be in there that might cause other parking issues, not outside of the veterinarian aspect of it, but that's just, I have to try and be excited in all of this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's a valid question. I could see, you know, perhaps an individual professional, like a, you know, architect, lawyer, somebody who doesn't necessarily have the need for a full-time office, but who needs an office. You know, IT, like something high-tech could go in there. You know, there's a variety of things, I think, in terms of office uses. Probably not the best for something that, you know, like a counseling or like psychology, like doctor's office probably wouldn't be the best use for that, just because of the potential noise. But then again, You know, considering the fact that a lot of the existing medical facilities in Sydney exist in buildings that are, you know, 20, 30, 40 years old, doing just code compliant building assemblies would probably improve upon that now. So I can't really say. It was more just to be honest, the residential idea, which was, you know, quite sort of, we thought would be quite sort of ingenious in the sense of owning your own apartment above your own space, allowing you to import talent, because as someone who's in the senior management of a firm in Greater Victoria, I can tell you it's impossible to retain talent, because as soon as you find somebody suitable, they look at housing and they go, sorry. Like we're just totally anecdotally, we just hired somebody from Calgary. They're going to be staying in Airbnbs on an ongoing basis till we can find them housing. So anyways, sorry to distract from your question. But yeah, any sort of professional uses I think would be envisioned for that.
And further, Chair, the stairwell, and I'm assuming that's why, because it was good the staff sent us that second picture, because I couldn't really see it before the vertical platform lift. I was wondering when I looked at it, like, how does somebody with accessibility needs to get to the second floor to access it? But that's for that specific purpose, obviously, I'm assuming.
Yeah, oddly enough, if it was residential, we wouldn't have had to provide that.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about the building code. No, it's a code requirement to provide access to all levels of a Group D occupancy, which is offices.
My last question, thank you, Chair, for being. So the hours of operation would normally be, I mean, I'm assuming what they probably are what they are now at the other.
Yeah.
The other, I'm not sure what those are because I take my pet somewhere else. Sorry, but.
Yeah, I would assume they're fairly, 9 to 5 normal-ish hours.
So.
I have also 8:50 to 7.
Okay. So the question I have with regards to the layout, and it's just because of what you have in the building and what you can offer in terms of services, will this clinic be a facility offer emergency services?
No.
So it's just a regular.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other first-time questions, committee members? Any second questions? Thank you, Mr. Schick. Now open up public participation on this development application. Are there any in the public wishing to speak online? Otherwise? Okay. We'll close public participation and I will move to the recommendation. Committee members?
I'll move the recommendation.
Excuse me. Sorry to interject. Is this something that staff wants to talk to, so we can maybe ask questions of staff as well, or would that be amenable?
Yeah, you're right. Any questions through the staff? Or staff, do you want to ask, provide any additional information? Mr. Newcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just to note that the parking requirements that have come up with this application are a result of the new floor space being added, and were the building to be renovated as is, there would not be any additional parking requirements. Thank you to the member for correcting that this application was reviewed by the committee but was not approved. It was just sent on to APC for review and comment, so it would have come back for potentially further discussion. And just to note too that the office spaces upstairs, there's a wide range of permitted uses that could go in there, but potentially there's some limitation in terms of the types of occupancy that would be able to be accommodated up there. So large assembly type occupancies where there's a number of people in the same space would likely not be able to be accommodated up there just because of the building code limitations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newcomb. Thank you, Councillor Garnett. Questions? Councillor Garnett?
Thank you, Chair. Just one, in the presentation, they spoke to the fact of the strata issue in terms of initially being residential and now having to do the office and potentially maybe being residential in the future. Is that through our protocols and through town, is that something that can be done with ease, or would it be a complicated process?
Thank you for the question. I guess a question back through to Councillor Garnett. Do you mean the conversion of, if this proposal is built out as proposed?
Yeah.
The conversion of the office space to residential at some point in the future?
Exactly, yeah.
So I think there's two parts to that in terms of the challenges to overcome to do that. One would be potentially a parking question, whether or not there'd be sufficient parking on site. The other would be a building code question and what type of, if this is built out as proposed, what type of fire separations and those types of things that are in the building. So difficult to answer. I mean, it would be possible. It might be a question of approvals from council in terms of parking and potentially cost in terms of meeting building code requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Newcomb. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions through to staff? I'll entertain the recommendation.
I'll move the recommendation that development permit application number DP 100837 and development variance permit application number DV 100322 for 99824 5th Street be forwarded to the Advisory Planning Commission for further review and comment.
I'll second that. Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. A question through you, Chair, to staff is, if this is forwarded to APC, given we've had a letter of rationale with regards to the parking variance and payment in lieu, APC would not be reviewing that particular aspect of the application? Sorry, I'll take it a step further. So APC typically would not be making a recommendation. Sorry, I'm asking whether APC, it's in the purview of APC to make a recommendation with regards to the variance or payment in lieu of the parking spaces in the loading zone.
Through the chair to Mayor McNeil-Smith. I think those items are certainly within APC's mandate, which is quite broad. It goes beyond just sort of building design review and does include broader planning and land use matters, which includes parking as well. So yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Discussion? See none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous passes. Thank you. Now move on to item 8, staff reports and consideration of 2023 grants and aid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's that time of year again where we're dealing with a greatly oversubscribed grant program where we've got close to $80,000 worth of requests for a very modest budget, which has recently been increased to $18,500. I've included the traditional staff report that lists some of the key aspects to consider. Some of the main ones being that some of these requests can be seen as an extension of local government services, and perhaps those might be the ones that should receive greatest consideration for funding, while some might be seen as pure charitable donations, which is typically beyond the scope of the town's grant program. It's important to note that there are many worthwhile causes, and all of the applicants are doing great work on behalf of the community. The question we always need to ask ourselves is, should we be using property tax dollars to support all these applications? As is typical, there are a number of large first-time applications from various organizations that may not be familiar with the town's process or our budget limits. I would typically consider these large applications to be outside the scope of our grant program. There are also a number of arts-related applications which may be best redirected to apply through Artsy, who have seen an additional $10,000 thrown their way for a local arts grant program. The only other items that I'd like to highlight it. There's a table in the report showing how our grants program has progressed over the years. We started with a grants budget of about 35,600 back in the mid-2000s. Slowly, a number of items have been carved off and made annual line items in our budget. And on a couple of occasions, the remaining amount for general grants and aid has been bumped up, including most recently through our budget process. So if you look at all these changes over the years, you could call our total grants budget somewhere in the vicinity of $60,000, which is just part of an overall community support budget of over $1 million now. Just a reminder to the chair about severing any items where a member of the committee might have a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Physick. I'll now entertain the recommendation, and then we'll move on to the items. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I noted in this year's grant request that there is 4 first-time applications, and among them are some of the largest, if not largest, requests. And I thought we might begin discussion tonight, not necessarily making a decision on those 4 requests, and I'll mention them in a moment, but to perhaps get an indication from committee whether we're considering a request at some level or not, because I think they would perhaps have a significant impact given the size of their requests if we chose that. And so I might, if I could, Chair, start with the largest request, which was a first-time application from United Way of Southern Vancouver Island. My comment is that while I think they're one of the best-known nonprofit organizations that support a wide variety of services to our community on the South Island, given the scope and scale of their organization, I note their budget is in the millions of dollars, and that the size of their request is larger than our entire grants and aid budget of $18,500. I'm again, while it's a worthy organization, I'm not supportive at this time until listening to colleagues of supporting a grant request from United Way of Southern Vancouver Island.
Other comments? Councillor Ntu.
Sorry, was that a motion at the end?
No, I'd prefer to listen to colleagues.
Well, let's put it on the table and listen to them. So I'll move that the United Way grant and aid request be declined.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, I concur with the observations the mayor shared with respect to the size and scope of the organization and their operations. And I'm thinking, traditionally our grants and aid have been, very locally focused, nonprofits with sort of very small requests. And while I admire and respect the work that they do, I think it would deplete our available budget for grant and aid. So I won't support funding United Way through this mechanism. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I won't repeat what Councillor Rintoul said. I agree with everything he said. I would just also add that they also have much more opportunity to get funding from many other sources. So for that reason, that's why I would agree with that. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had tagged this for a small amount. I think the work that United Way does is good. United Way is really an amalgam of many charities and many groups that sort of gather money together and redistribute it. I think the fact that an organization is really good at fundraising shouldn't put them on the blacklist, so to speak, from municipalities such as ours, where requests come in specifically for our citizenry. The benefit to this particular application was to be a meal program for seniors. I think given the fact that the town of Sydney is close to 45% in that senior category, and considering that there's a substantial number of those seniors who are living alone, who no longer have family, Very often, these programs are one of the only connections that these folks have with the outside world. And I would support them in the process. I feel that their initial ask is way too much, but I was prepared to go for a small amount of, say, $1,500 for a first-time application.
Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Chair, I'll cede the floor actually if there's any other first-time speakers.
Any others? No, you're up.
Thank you. And I did note, thank you to Councillor Novick with regards to the meal program that I would support. I would also note when I was considering that the Scholl Center provides a very significant meal program for seniors and has ongoing funding for that.
Further discussion? See none, I'll call on the vote on the motion to not fund the United Way. All in favor? Against? We have Councillor Novak against, and the motion passes. I'll return to Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. The second request I'd like to consider is the Art Reach Society, which is a first-time application requesting $10,000. And it was interesting to read the application, and when looking at the benefit to our community and the existing services, I'm not supportive of their request at this time. But again, willing to listen to committee members and other views before having.
Councillor O'Keefe?
I'll move it. Is that a motion? If it was?
No.
Okay, I will move then that we don't fund the 10,000 to the Art Reach Society.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Councillor
No,
O'Keefe?
I think the mayor covered it well, and I concur with his comments.
Okay, Councillor
Also,
oh.
if they thought that there was, it was worthy, they could apply to the Artsy funding program as well.
Councillor O'Toole, seconder.
Yeah, thank you. I had noted that, given the size of the request, that there wasn't a balance sheet included, so we don't know how much cash they actually do have on hand. But also they had a substantial loss, I thought, in 2022 at $41,000, and it does lead me to be a little concerned about the viability of an organization that we're not overly familiar with seeking, that amount. So I'm happy that this has been put forward as something not suitable for grants today. Thank you. Councillor
Duncan.
Yeah, thank you. I was supportive of this not going forward as well, simply for the reasons that Councillor O'Keefe stated. They could apply to Artsy for grants, but I know that there are also similar programs that act for recreation centers, and some people, people have already come to my kids' classes, and sometimes the PAC even will fund things like this if people do need funding for supplies. So I'm not concerned about whether there'd be a gap that is not being met by having this. So I hope this organization can find funding that will be suitable for them to continue their programs. Thanks.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call on the motion to deny Art Reach Society. All in favor? None opposed. The motion passes. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. The next one I'd like to have some discussion on is Sydney Preschool. It's a first-time application. It's a significant request, nearly half of our grants and aid budget at $7,500. They note that they're in a precarious financial position, and that this grant is very important to them continuing. Under a list of others contacted, it seems that private business, quite frankly, is providing support. I don't know what the others are. Their operating statement indicates that they've been operating at a small loss. I guess I have a bit of a concern, and again, willing to listen to others, that a municipal government, a local government, is getting involved in educational support to the extent that it's pure operating expense. If it was for a particular program that might contribute to, you know, something that occurs at the school, but for basic operating expenses, I have some concern. I'll leave my comments there.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you. I'll move that grant and aid funding be denied for Sydney Preschool.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Councillor
Yes.
O'Toole.
Thank you. I actually do recollect we did receive grant and aid funding requests previously from Sydney Preschool. It was probably 2 years ago. At any rate, we did deny it on that occasion, and sort of the same rationale I think was applied, was that it's a model that I'm certainly very familiar with, because both my kids went there, and I'm supportive of the model, but it very much, you know, encourages parent participation around fundraising for their efforts. And so I think, in part based on that precedent previously where we denied it, I think it's probably most appropriate to deny it again. Thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe is seconder.
I concur with those comments, and I don't think this is local government. This is something that we want to get into. It's a good thing, preschool, but then it of course opens the door that other preschools are going to come forward, and I just don't think it's something we should be funding. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I actually starred this one. Councillor O'Toole is correct. They came forward when I was there for carpets. It was $4,000 when we were replacing the carpets, and so and possibly a play shelf. And I remember that, and that was denied on the basis of that it was materials for a school that, yeah, that, you know, it's for a school. But I starred this time along with 3 others for a simple reason that in our official community plan and in all of the problems we were having with economic development, one of the issues we keep coming up with is the lack of childcare spaces. There are almost, there might be one other preschool actually left in the Sydney North Saanich area, and the rest have all gone under. A number of the cooperative preschools, I mean, they're all struggling as well. So in this case, I saw this, I went, well, actually, operational funding, if it really was a stopgap before losing another source of potential childcare, actually might be, at this point in time, a municipal service that would meet our economic development and official community plan goals. Because I mean, looking at, they've got 9 members now, that's less than half what you need to stay viable. And if I don't know if they could make it through another year, maybe they could do it, because I know that was a big push, was trying to get it to get to full time, so that they could actually start providing childcare for families. And that's one of the biggest problems right now. So obviously $7,500 with all of these other things is too much, but I feel like this might be a little different. I don't imagine any other preschool, there aren't any other preschools, I don't think, in the Sydney area anymore that are preschools rather than simply childcares. And if childcares started coming forward to the grants and aid asking for a little bit of money because they're going to go under too, I would probably make the same argument at this point in time, that we're going to lose our workforce, still more of our workforce, if we can't do something about this. So I would be open to actually considering something for this, given the operational nature and the direness of the situation, and the ability for the municipality to actually do something about a key issue we have.
Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I looked at this, and while I sympathize with the issues, I'm concerned that this, should we accede to this request, we'd be heading down a bit of a slippery slope, and opening ourselves up to similar requests from other childcare, daycare, preschool organizations. As much as I support them in principle, this is a program that I think the provincial government is either prepared to or been talking about getting into for quite some time, affordable daycare in the province. And I think it's really outside the scope of what the municipality should be doing with its tax dollars. Notwithstanding the passionate apartment by my colleague, Councillor Duncan, I think it's a legitimate concern. However, I just don't think it's within the municipal scope of activity.
Councillor Garnett?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can relate to what Councillor Duncan was saying. I initially had the same kind of reaction to it, but then when I thought about it further, I'm thinking if you're running a business and you're this much on the edge of not being able to stay open, there's so many things in life that can happen that could trigger that happening sooner, and then we've sent money over there that may not even be used, so, or not to its fullest value, and then is it something we have to consider doing every year? It's a very complicated issue, and I've struggled with this one as well. It has an asterisk or a question mark beside mine as well, so I'll wait for others to talk some more before I make a decision. Thank you, Chair.
So before we go back to Councillor Duncan, Mayor McNeil-Smith, do you have any comments on discussion as a first-time speaker?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the comments made by Councillor Duncan. The term business was used by another member of council, and I would draw a distinction. People tend to associate businesses with profit organizations, and a preschool is a non-profit, so I'm not sure I would attach business to the organization. It is a valuable service, and when I think of our taxpayers, residential, commercial taxpayers in the community, would they be supportive of their tax dollars supporting this? And I'm sure there would be some sentiment out there that would support it. The question I have is, to what extent in this service that typically is a provincial responsibility, what level would the municipality go to support childcare in our community through one or more organizations? So I don't think I don't think I support it at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan?
Oh, thank you. The mayor clarified the point I was going to make. This is a non-profit, not a for-profit business at all. And the province, the funding that's already in place from the province reimburses the parents for what you pay based upon your income. You submit forms through that. And so the programs that the province has in place are already in place for the parents that use this preschool. That came into effect 3 years ago, I think. So as much as the province is going to do has already been done. And I'm just, whether it's out of our purview or not, I think this is such a critical issue that I think since this is on the record, I just want to make sure that when my colleagues start talking about slippery slopes and all the other preschools and childcare is coming, if they would perhaps maybe think about listing the ones that they are aware of in town, because I feel this is an issue where we're discussing it as though we actually have the information, and I don't think the people here understand the information, and this is one of the things that keeps coming up with economic development. And we just had an affordable housing forum, on Radio Sydney, and people were talking, and this is critical for our workforce. And rather than actually considering the needs of the demographic, the actual limitations and the barriers, we're kind of just dismissing it because we don't have the information. And yeah, the reality of the situation is it's very unlikely others will come forward and ask for the funding because they're already gone. That's the problem.
Mayor McNeil-Smith?
Thank you. This is a very complex topic to my mind, or for me, and one of them is that if there's been declining enrollment at this particular school, why is there declining enrollment and why are other schools closing? My understanding from one of the fairly large operators in town is that they actually have unused spaces in their location because they don't have sufficient staffing, and so that's a complexity to the success. So is it that they don't have enough children at this location because they don't have enough staffing, and so it's the chicken and egg or what comes first. So I'm just not confident that even with additional information, it would be our purview to try and resolve this. Thank you.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Certainly been listening to my colleagues. I think Councillor Duncan makes some compelling comments. I will vote against the motion. I'm going to change my stance on this. Not to suggest an amount at this point, but to revisit it later if we find that we haven't fulfilled the $18,500. It's something that we may want to revisit.
Do I understand you're withdrawing your motion?
I can withdraw it, or if I have the latitude to vote against it, I will.
Okay. Turn to the seconder. Do you wish to withdraw?
No, I won't withdraw.
Yeah.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, I'll call on the motion to deny the Sydney preschool funding. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mayor McNeil-Smith, you had a fourth?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I have a fifth and sixth as well, but I may stop after that. But the fourth first-time application is the Ocean Ambassadors Canada for $3,000. And my comments with regards to this is it's a very interesting organization. I haven't heard of them before. In their detailed package, they demonstrate their successes in a number of jurisdictions in the Lower Mainland. And they also indicate that, it's a short paragraph or a sentence, that they were involved with in Victoria. But I'm having a challenging time appreciating how this initiative and this level of support would be of benefit to our community in particular. I'll leave my comments there.
And I'm just going to step back for a second, and I should have recounted that vote because I didn't. Just those that voted against, I didn't see those to identify. So I'll not for the motion in the last motion with the preschool.
Are you wanting to recall the question?
No, I just want to confirm the vote against the
Certainly.
vote. So it was a majority in favor, but I just want to record the votes that were against the motion. And I only have Councillor O'Toole, Councillor Garnett. Okay, those are just the two. Sorry for that. I just want to make that correction. Okay, so do we have a conversation on the Ocean Ambassadors Canada? Councillor Garnett, or Duncan.
Yeah, I noted 0 of their members lived in the town of Sydney, and I started initially because I thought, well, this kind of meets the fact that we did just introduce the, no plastics bylaw, but I realized most of our businesses are probably so far ahead of this curve, and we're doing most of that anyway, that I don't think we even probably have 30 businesses in town left who would need coaching. So hopefully, if there are other municipalities for which this is new and people are still adapting, this group would be successful, but I don't know that they're necessary here, and this is a win situation for us.
Councillor O'Toole.
I'll move that Ocean Ambassadors grant and aid be denied.
Second,
Councillor O'Toole, motivate.
No, I concur with what's been said previously. Thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe.
yeah, I concur. Also note that any of the things that they're proposing to provide coaching on, such as reducing single-use items, we've got bylaws and legislation in place that is, so I don't see the value. Thank you.
Councillor Novak.
I withdraw, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Other discussion? Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, I'll support the recommendation. Just simply, I think Councillor Duncan makes an excellent point. I mean, as somebody who eats and shops regularly in Sydney, our business has been ahead of the curve for a long time, even before we brought in our bylaw. So I don't see the benefit either. Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, I will call vote on the motion to deny Ocean Ambassadors Canada. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to turn our attention to Peninsula Players. They've had periodic applications, and a further question through to staff today was discerned that they may not have applied since 2009 last. I would, given that we've increased our grants twice in the last 3 or 4 years to the Peninsula Arts Council, once we started a new grant, or a new funding for granting of, I believe, 16,500, and then we've, through our budgeting process this year, that previous council did that this year, council allocated another 10,000. I would make the motion that, we deny the application to our Peninsula Players application, and I'll motivate further if it's seconded.
I'll second it.
Second. Please motivate Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, and I think that it would be appropriate for Peninsula Players to apply to the Arts Council.
I'll turn to the seconder, Councillor Novak.
Likewise, I think it's outside the purview of municipal funding.
Councillor Duncan.
I'm sorry, I'm just, by Peninsula Arts, do you mean Artsy? That we, okay, that we increased our funding too, because I don't know, I didn't realize Peninsula, or that Artsy would fund groups like Peninsula Players. They will? Okay. Yep. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Councillor Rintoul.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I had a star next to this one as one that I might hold on to see how things kind of, you know, pan out at the end, and when it notes you know, number of members living in Sydney, 250 of 300. It's one of the more substantially populated organizations with Sydney residents. I'm a little confused, you know, by the financials. I mean, they're showing their payouts on a per show basis, which show that they've had some modest income, but I don't know what other expenses they have, so it was difficult to evaluate from that standpoint of illustrating a need. But just based on this organization, I think bouncing back from the pandemic and continuing on with some shows and the number of local participants, my preference is to hold on to it and revisit it. I won't throw out a dollar number specifically now, so I won't support the motion. Thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. I'll support the motion. As previously mentioned, we increased our budget to support arts, and Artsy covers not just arts as in painting and that sort of thing. It's performing arts as well, and they have funded performing arts. And that's a decision we made in the past with arts organizations to let Artsy look at the big picture and be able to do that. I had also looked at the financials and noted that I didn't see any significant financial need. They seem to be making a small bit of a profit on each performance, which is a good thing. So that financial need also wasn't demonstrated to me. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'll now call for a vote on the motion to deny Peninsula Players. All in favor? Against? Councillor Rintoul, the motion passes. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. A question through you, Chair, to staff is, could Mr. Hissick perhaps sum the remaining dollar amount? If we subtract all of the ones we've denied, what does that leave in total requests?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The remaining request total of 33,831.
Sorry, 33,000?
Yeah.
Thank you. The next one I'd like to have some discussion on is Beacon Community Services and the request for $5,830. I'm going to move that this this request be denied, and I'll motivate if it's seconded.
Seconder? Second by Councillor O'Keefe. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Yeah, I gave this one a lot of consideration, and what I like about this application is that it's interesting to learn, because I learned through this application that there is an environmental component, a volunteer component to this organization. I think the intent of doing this initiative in Kelsit Park is certainly a worthy one, and I'm impressed that Wasanish Nation could look to be involved, particularly at the aspect of planting native species. We know during the previous council that when we did when the then called Ray Creek Park remediation Ray Creek Pond remediation was done, and the dam remediation was done, that Wasanish was involved in, and very significant habitat improvements were made, both to the fish habitat and to natural planting of natural plant species. So I'm supportive of that. However, I did pose a couple of questions through to staff today, and the email chain got a little convoluted, and it's kind of why it wasn't forwarded to council. Is that council members may be aware from previous budgeting that the town does enter into partnerships with the Greater Victoria Green Team, and has done so with regards to the annual tree planting initiative, which is an environmental stewardship. But also they've been involved in a couple of events very similar to this in terms of invasive species removal, and very successful when they've been involved. Staff indicated that the cost for Greater Victoria Green Team at one of those events is just over $1,700. I see this initiative being much more expensive. So so staff have a budget for environmental stewardship partnerships of $5,000. It's within our budgets that we've approved, and they're able to do 2 or 3 stewardship partnerships for different initiatives. Another one that I participated in, I think a colleague or two might have participated, was Peninsula Streams led the charge in doing an invasive species and a garbage cleanup of Ray Creek Park a few years ago. So I'm very pleased to see an additional organization willing to come forward, but when I look at what we're achieving for $5,000 in terms of 3 or 4 environmental stewardship projects a year, and now we're looking at one at a budget significantly greater than that, I'm in favor of the reason I've moved to deny this is that I would recommend in a response to Beacon Community Services that they approach staff with regards to their initiative, because staff are engaging different organizations throughout the year for stewardship, for partnerships in stewardship projects.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. I concur with all of that. I also thought the price tag was a bit high. I also see that the Green Team is going to be involved in this one anyway, so why we wouldn't wait if the Green Team was going to come forward. Maybe a question through you, Chair, to staff. Is this something that staff have been approached about, that presumably they have to come to us, would they, to get permission to do a cleanup of Kelsit Creek? Or is that something that they could initiate without our approval?
To my knowledge, staff have not been directly contacted about this, and
Okay.
occasionally we hear through the Green Team or Peninsula Streams about an event like this.
Okay, yeah. That's fine, thank you.
Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's probably, I had a question, but I don't think staff could answer it. I'm just wondering, I wish they'd provide any here information, I'm trying to glean it, that they actually have their own set of volunteers to do the work, because as many of us who have been to these events know, it's amazing to me when we have tree appreciation days that we have half the people that come are from out of our community. They're actually as far away as Souk, and I had people from America last year that I spoke to for quite a while. It was great to see all these other people come out, but you know, if this particular organization had a group of volunteers that are local, I think that would be great, because then maybe that provides impetus for them to come out to future ones if they enjoy themselves at doing something like this, and maybe they wouldn't if they're not attached to the organization. So that's why I kind of had penciled this one in for some kind of support, and the fact that the Green Team has done some excellent work in our and I wonder if maybe some of the extra cost is maybe the native species that they have to purchase to plant, and maybe that's why the cost might be a little elevated. I'm not an expert on native species cost, but I'm thinking that could be something to do with it. So I'm not 100% sure if I would support the recommendation to poll, but I was thinking more along the lines of providing them with something, but I'll leave the floor for others to comment. Thank you, Chair.
Further discussion? I'll call for a vote on the motion to deny the Beacon Community Services. All in favor? Opposed? We have one opposed. Councillor Garnett. The motion passes. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Those highlight the significant ones I thought would be helpful to have a discussion. So my tally is we're down around very close to 25,000 for the remaining. Sorry, I just want to do a math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
If you don't have any further, maybe I can turn to other committee members. Or do you have an additional?
So we do have 15. Am I correct? We have 15 requests for $25,000.
28,000 I have.
28,000.
Thank you, Mr. Hasek.
28,000 for the 15 requests. Sorry, I have no others. I'm prepared to go through them one by one, so I have no others that specifically
I will
identify.
turn to other committee members, to others they want to motivate for denial. Councillor Mintul.
I'll move that Take a Hike Foundation be denied grant and aid.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Councillor Mintul.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, absolutely a great initiative, supportive of you know, what the organization does. If I look at the financials correctly, it looks like they've got $1.2 million in cash, and net income last year is $65,000. I don't know that they've illustrated you know, a need for the type of grant and aid, you know, at least for the small local organizations that I have in my mind when they're dealing with this, and for that reason, I'm motivating to deny. Thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. Yeah, I concur. I also noticed, yeah, I didn't see a big financial need here. It wasn't clear to me how our community would benefit. It talked about, I believe, perhaps getting some local students involved. I might have been a more compelling case if I had heard from local people that this was something that was being, you know, was having a benefit. But I mean, the main thing for me is, yeah, financial. I don't see the financial case for it. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, I think I concur with pulling it. I would just note, simply because this is a large organization that is a registered charity, and I feel this would again be more like a charitable donation than rather than the municipal grant and aid that would be required. I would note, however, that they were going to be running this as a specific Saanich Peninsula community program, and that obviously there are definitely going to be youth in Sydney who are within ST 63 that would be benefiting from this, therefore, and so I'm glad that this organization will be here and will be working with our youth, and I wish them all the success. I just think maybe this isn't the right program for our aid.
Further discussion? I'll then call for a vote on the motion to deny Take a Hike Foundation. All in favor? Opposed? None? Motion passes. Other motivations from council members? Councillor Novak.
I have a few denials, and please bear with me. I'm new at this, and I'm still trying to get the hang of it. With as much information as I could glean from, you know, from the documentation that came to us. First one, I think I would deny Capital Bike. I think the project that they're talking about is a fairly reasonable one. However, they're a substantial organization that had a substantial surplus. And I'm just not sure that asking us for $1,000 so they can give a course on bike safety in a school is something that we should be involved in. Again, I think it's outside the scope of our projects. I think it's too short-lived. I think there are plenty of other resources for young people to get bike education or bike safety awareness. And I think that even without our $1,000 or $1,400 that they're asking for, Capital Bike has enough within their war chest to proceed with this notwithstanding. So I'm quite happy to move that Capital Bike be denied the $1,475 that they're requesting.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, any further motivation, Councillor Novak?
I think I've said it all.
Okay, Councillor O'Keefe is seconder.
I think it's good what they're doing. I think it's within our purview, but the things that stand out for me is that we've already, in wanting to sort of spread our money as far as possible, I make note that we've already funded them for some Go by Bike weeks. So it appears that they're getting some money from us anyways. And similarly, I had looked at their financial information and felt like compared to some other organizations that they had some other significant funding, I didn't see the financial need there. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I had them down for $1,000. However, I mean, I'm flexible in this because, as others have pointed out, their financials are pretty good. This is a different program for the Go by Bike weeks, but this was again one of the ones that I had starred simply because we were doing our active transportation plan at the time, and I thought that this kind of was something that was meeting our town objectives. Whether it's appropriate for us to do grants and aid simply because of that or not, because we are supporting these groups in other ways through the other mechanisms of our town, I don't know, but for that reason I was fairly supportive. I have already gotten the notice for my grade 4 student about what this would be, and I thought because it's of interest for the active transportation plan, we were getting comments about how there's who would be using bike lanes and how all ages and abilities they are. The Capital Bike group does have a fleet of bikes and helmets to borrow and a number of adapted bikes. So students with specialized mobility requirements. So is something that people are looking at is definitely making sure that these are things that people won't be left out of, and I think it's a great program. Yeah, I would be willing to give them $1,000, but again, I don't feel their need is dire, and I guess I'll wait to hear what my colleagues say.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a specific program at Sydney Elementary School that is supporting locally and defined, and so I'm in support. Like Councillor Duncan, I had $1,000 scratched down here. Look, when I comment on financials, and here I'll say they had last year net income of $19,000. They've got $110,000 in the bank. That's, there's healthy financials and there's financials that add an element of risk to giving an amount of money. This to me is a reasonable, healthy organization that is able to fulfill its mandate with the financials they provided us. So I'd be comfortable giving them more money if we weren't giving them money from somewhere else, but they're asking for $1,475. We've given them $1,000 previously. I'm quite happy to do that, so I won't support the motions before us. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. A question through you, Chair, to staff regarding the $7,000 for Go by Bike Week. My understanding is, and I'm seeking clarification through staff, is this is not a cash grant to Capital Bike. We're rather making improvements in Sydney to support Go by Bike Week events.
It is in fact a cash contribution for 2 events this year. the 2 seasonal go-by bike weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I do have do want to motivate, and I very much support this request. Active transportation is a very important priority for our council. We're in a very significant engagement process with our community. I'll comment on the financials and even understanding or appreciating that we are making a direct contribution to the regional Go by Bike Week events. That this is a very targeted program, and I think it's fantastic that they're doing this in Sydney with our elementary students, bringing the benefits and the safety of cycling in our community to a younger age group, a younger demographic, and so I'm very supportive in this, and I think it aligns very well with our official community plan and plans like the active transportation plan that are in progress.
Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Likewise, similar to my colleagues, I had $1,000 down. I think this is a great program for many reasons. One, the age group, grade 4 and 5, it's the perfect time, and obviously they've done the research in their organization. It's the perfect time to teach bike safety and rules to children and make them good stewards of the road as they age in time and continue to use their bikes. The fact that they also provide bikes and helmets to those in our community in need who don't have access to them is because then they're not being left out of the equation, which is important, and the adaptive bikes. So, you know, they've looked at it from a broad perspective of making sure that everybody in this school has access to this. And to me, that's really important. It also ties, as has been said by others, into our active transportation plan. These are all important things to instill it in children at a young age. And I just think it's an excellent program and it's worth our consideration. And so I won't support the motion. Thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. A question through you, Chair, to staff. Since there is such a direct link to active transportation, is this something that we could choose to fund out of a one of those pots of money that, no? Okay. Thanks.
Any further discussion on this motion to deny? All in favor of denying the capital bike? Opposed? Motion fails. Any other further submissions by committee members for denial? Councillor Novak.
I still have a couple, actually.
Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
just a point of order. Do we need, and I'll just turn to staff, to record those opposed?
Okay, the opposed were Councillor O'Keefe, Councillor Rentoul.
No.
Oh, can we?
No, she was opposed.
She was opposed, yes. There was only one in favor. Yeah, one in favor. Opposed were Councillor O'Keefe, Councillor Rentoul, Councillor Duck, Councillor Garnett, Councillor Duncan, and Mayor Manuel Smith. Councillor Novak.
So the other, I've got two more on my list.
Okay.
Two right next to each other. One Capital Region Food and Agricultural Initiative. I don't know if we can do them both together.
Let's do them individually. Microphone, yes.
It'll take me a year to get used to this. Yeah, I'm not really sure what this Capital Region Food and Agricultural Initiative is. It just doesn't seem that it's something that we need to get involved in. They're a large organization. They seem to be very well funded. I don't know why they're asking us for money for $500. Something about food and a hybrid event coordination budget. The whole thing just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And in looking at their financials, they're quite liquid. They've got lots of money. So I have no idea why they're asking us for $500. So I would make the motion to deny them their request.
Second.
Second, moved and second. Any further comments, Councillor Novak? No? Councillor Rentoul.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, from the looks of their financials, most importantly, sort of the wages they've paid out in 2022, over $272,000 it looked like. although that may be the consultants, and likewise, I didn't feel like our $500 was gonna make a difference to this organization. So I'm happy to deny this grant and aid application. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I've come to learn more of this this organization through serving as a CRD director and food security initiatives that the CRD is currently looking into or assessing the feasibility of. It's been a long time process, and so I've met a number of individuals through CFAIR, and I believe they're a very important umbrella organization in the capital region. I won't deny the comments made in terms of their relatively healthy financial position, but I think food security is very important for all of us. We certainly can't contribute on the food production or processing side, given our built-out urban environment in Sydney, and so I won't support denying this request.
Further discussion? I'll call in a vote on the motion to deny the funding to Capital Region Food and Agriculture Initiatives. All in favor of denying? Opposed? Two opposed. Councillor Duncan, Mayor McNeil-Smith. The motion passes. Councillor Novak.
Thank you. I'm on. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the last one I have is the one directly after capital, and that's FED, Fed Urban Agricultural Society. While I'm a big fan of gardens and gardening and that sort of thing, community gardens, that's and the like, I think it's great. I think it helps people to grow their own food. I think it's very satisfying. However, this organization does not, well, maybe it thinks of itself as a not-for-profit, but it actually shows a profit and loss statement and shows a $30,000 profit. So I'm wondering why they're coming to us and asking from us $1,000 for their program. Again, while their motivations might be good, I just don't think it's within the purview of our municipal programs to support community gardens in, well, plants and starter seeds, this sort of thing. And I'm not really sure who gets it, and it just, the whole thing seems a bit vague to me, and like I said, they're very well funded, so I'm not sure why they're coming to us for funding. Therefore, I would move that we deny Fed Urban Agricultural Society the $1,000 that they have requested.
Seconder?
Second.
Moved by Councillor Novak, second by Councillor O'Keefe. Further motivation, Councillor Novak.
Again, they don't purport themselves to be a not-for-profit. They're showing a clear profit. I just don't think that our taxpayers want to be giving funds to for-profit organizations.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. For me, the issue is, I think community gardens are a good thing. I think it's within our purview to do that. But what's unclear to me is exactly, they talk about 25 planters to be delivered to Sydney. I don't know anything about, I think we gave them money last year. I would have been more inclined to support it if they had come back and said, you know, as part of our program last year, this is what we did with your money. 25 people were able to start up new gardens. So I didn't get any feedback from them on that. If they were coming forward to say, we've got a plot of land, we're gonna do this, we've got people signed up, I would be more inclined to support it. But based on what we have here, I would support denying the request. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I believe I was the one who stumped for them last year when they came forward, and of course we gave them funds out of the Safe Restart, because I know a big boost that they had gotten when they started in Victoria was that they were trying to bring food specifically to urban people who could not access land. And so this is never going to be, I don't think, an organization that was intending to get land so much as continue with container gardening. that being said, I concur. There is definitely that fear that, well, this was a startup program and it is a nonprofit. Like, I can't think we can legally declare that they're not they're nonprofit. I don't know how much you're allowed to make and roll over in each year and still maintain your nonprofit status, but they are. But that whether this was actually contributing to long-term food security, or if people get these things and they do them for a year and then they molder. I'm really interested in robust food security, and the strain on our food banks indicate that this is a big deal. And so what I would prefer to do instead, if we had money, is to support, some of the other initiatives going on in surrounding municipalities, perhaps, and something that was more likely to be robustly be held forward and contribute to that. So I think, I'm okay with dropping it if it means the money will go somewhere else that we know there'll be more concrete benefits. But yes, if my Fed Farm ever does hear these meeting comments and wants to come forward and give us an idea of how their organization is contributing to robust and long-term food security, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was inclined to support them to a similar amount that we did last year. I would note the financials are year-end 2021, so it's would have been nice to have seen 2022's financials before us. I like that they have a specific use identified in Sydney, as is noted in the report, specific spend here. We've supported them previously. Like my colleagues, it would have been nice to have seen something a little more tailored in terms of, the successes they had, locally from the program last time. Somewhat indifferent, but I was inclined to see it stick around, so I won't support the motion for now. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil Smith.
I fully support this. I won't support the denial of the request. I support this initiative. On the front, on the front page, it says through the program, we provide garden kits to vulnerable households and community groups that support vulnerable populations, including individuals living in low-income housing, senior centers, single-parent households, First Nation communities. So far, 3,866 planters have been provided to individual households, community organizations, and First Nations community, adding 22,000 pounds of potential food grown by and for vulnerable populations. I think they have a targeted program. I appreciate comments from colleagues that perhaps we would like to know those particular numbers for Sydney, but this is an organization operating throughout the region, and I think they're demonstrating success to a degree. I'll note that North Saanich and Central Saanich have supported this, and I don't know whether what they show on the application, whether it's amount requested. We don't know if they've been confirmed yet, but they have had success, as I understand it, through different municipalities, targeting those groups in our municipalities. And I think food security is again, I made the comment with regards to the previous similar application. I think food security is very important to us, and I think one of the few ways we can support it, living in a built-out urban community.
Any further discussion? Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I concur. With Councillor Rentoul, I had $500, same as last year, set aside. And it's the populations they target. I think it's critically important. Would I like to know some kind of results as to what happened when they went to use this in our community? Yeah, but the fact that they're able to bring it to people and to the people who need it the most, I'm not that. I don't need that information that badly. Put it that way. Thank you, Chair.
Any further comments? I'll call for a vote on the motion to deny the Fed Urban Agricultural Society. All in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Councillor Rentoul, Councillor Garnett, Councillor Duncan, and Mayor McNeil Smith. And I now call on Councillor Novak for additional.
If I may make so all we've done is
just passed the motion for denying, so we haven't gone into discussing what the appropriate amounts are yet. We're still, Councillor Novak has additional denials. Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only question I had left was for, perhaps through yourself to staff, the question of St. Andrews. The comments shows that there's a $500 annual line item, and then they're asking for another $2,000. Would that be over and above the 500?
That would be my understanding. They're one of the three churches that receive the $500 annually plus an ongoing tax exemption.
Thank you. All right, I'll leave it for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further denials from council or from committee members? Councillor Duncan first.
Well, this one I'd kind of had the Sydney lawn bowling, because I wasn't sure this was actually even a grant and aid issue. If what they're saying is that this is a grant to help them fix a fence that's on town property, I actually wasn't really sure that this was the process to have the town help repair this. And I'm just questioning through to staff on the nature of this fence, and you know, normally if it was another residential property owner, they would be paying for it and we would be paying for it. But what do you do when is it ours, the town?
The property is leased to them. I believe it's all the improvements belong to them, as far as I know.
Okay. Yeah, this I really am struggling with. Because in that case, it's really not our fence, and the tone of the application that they were broken into because of the fence on town property, which is, if it's, you know, it's a fence meant to keep people out of a park and simply mark a property boundary. It's not a security fence, and I'm not sure that the town should be contributing to the repair of a fence, particularly if their argument is that it's for security reasons. It would have to be a very beefed up fence, and it just seems really outside of our mandate as part of a grant and aid to help somebody build the security fence under these conditions. Just something about this feels really off to me. And the means of this application, yeah, so I had nothing for this one.
Would you like to make a motion on that, Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, I guess I'll move to deny the Sydney lawn bowling.
Second.
Second by Councillor Keefe. Further motivation, Councillor Duncan.
No, I don't think so. I rambled enough.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, no, I concur. Fixing fences, I don't see that it's something that kind of falls within the parameters of what we would provide grants and aid for, so I'll support that.
Further discussion, Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, I had a different take coming in, but listening to Councillor Duncan and looking at the pictures, and clearly this fence was never meant for security, because even in my advanced stage I could leap it in one bound. So it's not, I mean, it's not in great shape, but unless you build a significantly more of a fence, you're not going to keep people out. And I don't know if, I'm not sure what they put down for a cost of a fence, but their numbers, but I'm just not sure, again, how this is, how I want to spend my grant and aid money. So thank you, Chair.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you. We've supported them in past, and you know, I agree that the application, you know, and the specific reference to this project may be somewhat challenging. There are infrastructures, you know, on leased properties that the town is, you know, responsible under its lease to maintain, and we've heard from staff that in this instance that may not be the case with this. We've also worked in partnership with other nonprofit organizations on things like fencing, and I think in Peninsula baseball and softball in that context. if it's, I agree it's not a security fence, but aesthetically, you know, it's an issue. Is it somewhat of a safety issue having it fall down if, you know, someone's leaning against it? I don't know. I wouldn't lean against it from the looks of it, but someone might. Their financials, you know, clearly show a need, you know, for support. The organization, in terms of its composition and membership, I don't see a reference. 157 members of 172 living in Sydney. You know, to me, this is an outdoor activity. It's like others prevailed through COVID and may be struggling, you know, to regain its feet. I'm comfortable seeing us support at a certain level, perhaps not the 3,000. Perhaps, you know, it's allocated elsewhere at their discretion, because I think they show a need here in their financials. So I won't support the motion. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, the motion on the floor is?
To deny the Sydney Lawn Bowling.
Yeah, I won't support the motion on the floor. Partially from the comments that this is predominantly an older demographic in our community, a large community membership in Sydney, doing outdoor recreation. When these previous applications came forward, I note and I believe there may have been we may have topped it up with some COVID restart funds, but we granted $3,000. In that particular application, they were actually looking at lawn bowling equipment, as I recall. And we could see, wow, this helps if they're getting these new lawn bowling, you know, equipment sets, it's gonna facilitate, you know, more players or these players being able to play and that sort of thing, and we were supportive of it. Now if a request for a fence repair comes forward and we're saying, well, we shouldn't be doing that. It's one of the concerns I have, and I have expressed it in the past, and I don't have a recommendation on it to change the application, but the application specifies on page 2, and I'm going to find one that filled the application out rather than typing it. Intended use of the funds, total cost of the project initiative is, I just know some organizations when they're filling this out say, okay, what can we say we'll spend this money on that will garner the support of committee or council for that. The reality is our donation is going into their general revenues. They've got a relatively small budget. They'll spend it on any number of different things from year to year. And to come forward one year to say we're purchasing it for this and another year we're purchasing for that, realistically for an organization like this is going into their general revenues. I can appreciate they have a challenge, and that's perhaps why they've asked more, but they've asked for this, I believe they've asked for this sum because we granted them $3,000 a couple of years ago. So I'd look for council to perhaps reconsider this as a vibrant outdoor recreation activity for seniors and others in our community, and won't support the motion.
Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was on my list to support, and I think one of the principal reasons was, as Mayor McNeil-Smith pointed out, it's for an organization that has a very active program for a large or substantial number of seniors in our community. But more so, if we can assume that their intended use of the funds is legitimate, and I have no reason to suspect that it isn't, we should almost be embarrassed to be in a situation where a not-for-profit like the lawn bowling organization is asking us for a little bit of money to help fix the fence that borders a town park, where at least as good neighbors we should be offering to cover 50% of the cost of the fence at least, if not replacing the fence altogether. So I think offering them maybe not the full 3,000, but certainly some number in there, and we can discuss at some point what that number is, would seem to me to be a minimum approach to take for them. And so for that reason, I won't support the denial of their funding.
Councillor Duncan.
Thanks, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to withdraw the motion, based on the arguments that this, organization, this would likely just be money that would go into their regular operational and for general maintenance around, and if this is the time when they've looked at the fence and said, well, we probably should replace that anyway, I'd be okay with that. That's general upkeep that organizations that have property need to do. What concerned me is that they're talking about the town being responsible for the fence, and that condition of the fence resulted in a break-in, and that we're helping pay for a fence to be fixed so that won't happen again. That gives me considerable pause. This is not a security fence. If they're having security problems, this is not the way to fix it, and if that's what this money is to go for, they need to actually be investing in some other type of thing. Alarm, other types of security measures. This is not gonna do that. If this is, general maintenance because people leasing property need to do that, I'm okay with that. I am not okay with this being portrayed as town of Sydney supporting them in their security measures, but I'm happy to withdraw it for other reasons. Thank you.
So motion you're withdrawing your motion, Councillor Duncan? Sure. Turn to the seconder, Councillor O'Keefe.
I'll concur.
Okay, motion is withdrawn. So no further discussion.
Call a point of privilege. Can we have
Yeah.
a 5-minute recess, Chair?
Absolutely. I was gonna plan that following denials, but we can take one now if you like, if everyone would like. No, the motion's been withdrawn, so we don't have a motion on the floor to discuss. We'll take a 5-minute recess. It's 20 of, and we'll come back at 1:45. Okay, council, pull you back in session. Mayor McNeil Smith, you had your hand raised before the last denial. Do you have an additional? Okay. Any further denials? I have one to propose. I'd like to put forward that we deny the Mount Newton Center Society.
Second.
Discussion, I'll motivate. I looked at this one and it is, understand for purposes that it provides, you know, equipment at donation, but basically beyond that, I didn't see much service to the town of Sydney and its residents. So that's all I'm gonna say. So I'll now turn to Councillor Garnett.
Agree with you.
Further discussion? Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have personal knowledge of Mount Newton Center. They're an organization that provides extremely valuable services to the community. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. When something bad happens to you and you need the services of their lending cupboard or any of their other services, you're afforded the benefit of that without any payment, whether you can afford it or not. I think that they provide a vital service to the society. In my case, it was a situation where I needed medical equipment quickly, and they were able to provide that at no charge. They asked for a donation, but they did not look at what the donation was. And so I think the small amount that they're asking is insignificant to our greater good. I would consider donating to them or granting to them maybe less than the $2,000 that they ask, but I really think that they should receive something. I can't imagine what people who are in need would do without that society. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, I concur. You know, they're an important vehicle for residents of the peninsula, and certainly their number of Sydney residents who've benefited from the centre is quite impressive. You know, it's an organization that I've got a lot of respect for. Having said that, you know, looking at their cash position at least, their financials don't particularly support the request, albeit, you know, somewhat small, almost symbolic. I do feel like that $2,000, I believe that's the amount they're requesting, you know, likely could be applied to a smaller local organization, and that impact be, you know, quite meaningful. So I'm inclined to listen to my colleagues and hear their thoughts at this point. But with the cash and their net income in the last financial period of $160K, I feel like they're well financed, and I'm more likely leaning towards denying. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I won't support the motion to deny. I think they provide a valuable service. They list 216 members living in the town of Sydney. I've certainly known residents of Sydney to benefit from a range of their services. You know, physically they're outside of the town of Sydney, but they're certainly serving residents of Sydney. And I think organizations like this are very important. And while their financial statements are very healthy, I think an organization needs that, because they could have an unexpected situation arise, perhaps more significant than a fence, you know, falling in disrepair. And, you know, they don't necessarily have proper reserves, capital replacement reserves or reserves. And so I appreciate the comments with regards to financials, but I'll consider them healthy at this stage.
Further discussion? Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. I'll support the motion to deny. No doubt that they provide a good service to the community, but when I going through this process, I'm looking at each amount and thinking at where would this $2,000 have the most impact? And as Councillor Rentoul mentioned, I think that $2,000 would have more of an impact with a smaller organization rather than one that appears to be currently fairly well funded. So when we're looking at things that we have to prune down, this is one that I would see pruning so that we could have the flexibility to allocate to some other organizations. Thank you.
Any first-time speakers? I'll turn to Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to provide a context with an example, another example of Beacon Community Services. And we may have seen it, it was on the, I think the second last page of our lengthy budget binder of the community support that we provide. But we currently provide $7,500 in support to Beacon Community Services, which has a remarkably large budget. I forget what the tens of millions of dollars are in total. But I can remember serving in this body back in 2008, 2009. Their request came forward for the 3 different programs. And forgive me, I'll turn through you, Chair, to staff if staff could remind me of the 2 or 3 programs that $7,500 supports, or $7,000 supports.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, the programs are volunteer services, youth empowerment program, and access awareness.
And so again, you know, they were once part of grants and aids, and they became line items because we realized that while it's a very large organization that has a wide source of funding, these smaller programs or individual programs are important in our community. And so I just want to draw that as an example of while it's a large organization, it's providing things for our residents, and I think Mount Newton Center is doing so as well.
Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While I tend to take both sides of the same issue at times, I think in this case it's probably unfair of us to try and penalize an organization simply because they're doing well. They're doing well because they provide a vital service to the community and the community supports them. And as Mayor McNeil-Smith indicated, that it's important to have these organizations functioning properly in the community, and they could eventually become line items in our financials simply because of the work they do with our citizenry. I think it would be a mistake to deny them the small amount that they're requesting. Thank you.
Further discussion? Call for a vote on the motion to deny the Mount Newton Center Society. All in favor? Opposed? Have Councillor Novak, Councillor Duncan, and Mayor McNeil-Smith. The motion passes. Any further denials? Okay, Council, we are sitting at 23.5 if my numbers are correct. I'll turn to Mr. Hisik, which he confirms. So we have 18.5 and we have 23.5 in demand. So we have about 5,000 to cut. Is there any immediate ones that you can see cutting down? And we have 2 conflicts, just to let you know. Myself with Cycling Without Age Society and Councillor Duncan with the Scout Hall. So if those come up, we need to adjourn ourselves. Mayor McNeil-Smith.
Chair, I would like to move that we approve $500 in funding to Saanich Peninsula Pipe Band.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just motivate. We've supported this organization for a long time. The Saanich Peninsula Pipe Band there actually used to be 2 pipe band organizations on the peninsula, and they came together a number of years ago. And I think it's an important aspect of our arts and culture in our community that we have this pipe band that participates in a number of events in Sydney and on the peninsula.
Okay, Councillor Garnett. Oh, no comment. So
You know, I was supporting, but I actually had them down for an amount of 1,000. But
Councillor Duncan.
Council.
Yeah, my comment was essentially the same. I'm supportive, but I had them down for the whole amount because it was so concrete what it was for that I thought, let's just give them that. Where a lot of these other ones, it was clear that we were funding something partial, but that they'd kind of allotted us a fund amount that would go to this concrete set of things. But you know what? Whatever anyone else will fund, I'll fund for them. So let's.
Councillor Keefe?
I was along the same lines. This is, to me, almost a no-brainer. They're very local. They come out to Remembrance Day and other ceremonies. You know, we haven't given them any kind of an increase in a long time, so I would be more inclined to support I'll move an amendment. How's that? To $1,000 for the pipe band.
We have an amendment on the floor to amend it to 1,000. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
And this is discussing the amendment, which is to amend the motion to award $1,000. And speakers to that, I'll first go to the maker of the amendment, Councillor O'Keefe.
No, it's okay.
Councillor O'Toole. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the intent. I think if you look at the past, we've supported the pipe band with, I think, $500 many years, going back even before the ones on the spreadsheet. And I think it comes to a balancing act of the size and scope of these organizations and benefit. And I think we found a good spot. I'd be willing to go $750, but what my preference would be is I'm going to deny this amendment. And I suggest that even if it approves the original motion of 500, we can certainly come back to it at a later time. And just for council's benefit, council has done that, or committee has done that in previous years, where we go through and we allocate a certain amount and we realize that there are some funds and we do a reallocation later in the meeting.
Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had this tagged for the full amount. As Councillor O'Keefe said, it was a bit of a no-brainer. There are not a lot of pipe bands left in the world. It's a skill that's fast disappearing. It's a part of Canadian heritage, although certainly not a part of my personal heritage. I certainly enjoy listening to them, and I think that they add a lot of color and history and culture to our events. And I would hate to see the time come when we don't hear the pipes on Remembrance Day or on other parade days, either July 1st or Sydney Sparkles. And so, you know, I think to squabble about $673 or something is a bit petty, or even $173. So I'd be happy to give them $1,000 and say, let's be done for this year.
Further discussion? Motion on the floor is to amend the existing motion to award $1,000 to the pipe band. I will call for a vote on that amendment. All in favor? Opposed? We have one, none opposed. The motion carries. So I will then call on to confirm the motion that we're awarding the pipe band $1,000. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I would move that we grant Sydney Lawn Bowling $750.
Motion to present the Sydney Bowling Club $750. Seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Novak. Mayor McNeil Smith.
I don't think further motivation is required. We had deliberation on this when we were looking at the motion to deny.
Councillor Novak.
I think I've said all I can say about...
Microphone, colleague.
Sorry, I think I've said all I can say about lawn bowling, so I'm happy to support it.
Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I would support this at a greater amount, and if the motion fails, I'll propose additional funding.
So any further discussion on the motion? The motion is to provide $750 to the Sydney Lawn Bowling Club. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed, Councillor Rintoul. Motion passes. So we're sitting about, quick numbers, 21,000. Mr. Hessick?
That's very close.
Okay. Go ahead, Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you. I would move that we grant the BC Aviation Museum Society $3,000.
I'll second.
Sorry, can you repeat that amount, please?
Motion is to present the Aviation Museum with $3,000, made by Mayor McNeil Smith, seconded by Councillor Novak. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. We have only recently granted funds to the BC Aviation Museum, and I think they're a victim of the border between Sydney and North Saanich, which is about probably 50 feet off the yellow center line on Kenora Road. This is an extremely vibrant organization, presenting a lot of history of the region, and they're a well-run organization. I've known of them, participated at their lunchtime meetings for several years. I think they're doing very, very good work to present, and they are a destination for people well beyond our region. And I consider them a part of our broader community. And when you compare the level of support that we provide to the Sydney Museum and Archives, and I meant to look at the budget to refresh what that number is, but it's well in excess of $100,000. I think I think there's personally I think we have some catching up to do with the museum, and I would like to begin with this, given the proportions I'm looking at on my sheet tonight.
Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo everything that Mayor McNeil Smith has stated. It is indeed a destination. I can't tell you how many times I've gone there with my grandchildren or other visitors from out of town, and then, you know, come back to dine in a restaurant somewhere in Sydney. So I think that the benefits to Sydney, while it may not lie within the boundaries of Sydney, are certainly obvious to the community. There are a large number of volunteers that live within Sydney who work at the museum, and they provide a benefit to the region in general, which I think the town of Sydney benefits from. So to me, $3,000 is a very small amount. While I think the funding arrangements are a bit different between Sydney Museum and BC Aviation Museum in terms of their history, I don't deny that $3,000 is a fairly small amount, given the value it brings to the community. So I'm quite happy to support at this level.
Further discussion? Call for vote on the motion to provide the BC Aviation Museum with $3,000. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We're sitting about 19.2, I think, Mr. Hessick?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Can I just get a clarification from our CFO what the actual balance on the 18,500 is remaining?
19.2. That's
No,
what
it
you
can't
said.
be. We started at 18,500.
No, that's what we're sitting at. We've got to shave another 1,500 off of it.
Oh, you're doing it in that way,
Yeah.
okay. I'm going the other way around, back
We
from
have-
18,500
no,
down.
we're sitting with allocations of about 19.2 left that we have to reduce. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Just if I might, a general comment, a point of privilege is that while I appreciate we are going to have to reduce the amount of some of the grants to come in on budget, that we're perhaps not looking to shave now, but if we go through the individual applications and what we agree is a reasonable amount, and as I indicated earlier, hasn't been uncommon in the past for us to, if we get to the end point and we actually have some money unallocated, we can then increase certain grants.
Okay. We have
Go ahead.
who would like to move? Motion for Councillor Rintoul.
Yeah, I guess perhaps this is a procedural question, if I may, Chair, I would like to see us address and have discussion around Cycling Without Age and Sydney Guide and Scout Hall Society. And regardless of what level of support, I think those motions should come with the conflicts of interest outside the room. So I might propose that we do those now, if that meets with the
Okay.
Chair.
I will turn the chair over to Mayor Nail Smith and leave you with Cycling Without Age Society.
We'll do them one at a time, yeah. Okay, I will look for a motion with regards to Cycling Without Age. Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move that we fund Cycling Without Age Society at the same level as last year at $1,000.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I turn to the mover.
I don't know that much about the organization. What I do know is that they work with seniors in the community. It seems like they have a good program. I've seen them around town. They're not asking for an awful lot, and so I think it doesn't require a lot of thought for me to agree to fund them to the same level as previous years.
Thank you, Councillor Novak. Councillor Garnett?
Oh,
Sorry, you seconded, Councillor
Yeah, no,
Garnett?
sorry, I'm having a hard, for some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing your microphone. Yeah, no, I would have supported for more, but I'll support this. I especially, they do great work, and I love what they do with when they started off, but now to see that they branched out into complex, students with complex issues in the school system, to me speaks to the importance and relevance of their organization and what they bring to our community. Such a great benefit. So I'd be happy with this, but if somebody wants to move more, I'd be happy to support that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Rintoul?
Thank you. I'll amend the motion to provide financial support to the level of $1,500.
Do we have a seconder?
A second.
Seconded by Councillor O'Keefe. I'll turn the mover of the
Yeah.
amendment.
Thank you. I mean, I concur. We've supported them for a number of years now, typically at the $1,000 level. I think given that their programming has extended somewhat, I recognize they're looking to utilize this for liability insurance. The program's growing, looking at the numbers that we've seen here and their approach. So I think just given the nature of the inflationary environment, where it makes sense, provide a little more support. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn to the seconder.
Yeah, and I concur. I might have been even inclined to provide more, but there was not much in the way of financial information provided. So, but just because I'm familiar with the organization, they know good work. As Councillor Rintoul just said, the program has expanded. I'm okay to give them $1,500, but I guess I'd like them to know, if they're watching this, that if they gave financial statements, I might have been inclined to support a higher amount. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I might comment on the amendment, if I may, is I do have some concern that we didn't receive financials. I'm very supportive of the organization and would support the original motion. I might be more inclined to consider that higher amount in the amendment if we had financials, but also if we had an indication of the number of rides, or some metric of the level of activity that they do in the community. Of course, we see them in our community, but that information would be helpful. I'll leave my comments there. Councillor Novak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support the amendment. I think in some cases these numbers are arbitrary. I think the principle is, though, that it's a good organization. I too would like to see a little bit more detail. I agree that before we go beyond this number of 1,500, we would need to see financials and maybe some performance metrics. But at this level, I'm happy to support the amendment.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Calling the question on the amendment. All in favor? And none are opposed. The motion carries. So I'll call the question, or I'll open it for discussion if there's any question on the original amended motion. Councillor Rintoul?
Yeah, I'll just clarify for those who may be watching, may be concerned with comments around, the level of reporting. I do recollect this organization has come before council to report out, on the growth of their programming. I don't think we've seen them in a year, but there has been that sort of touch point happen from time to time. So again, I'm happy to support this motion as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? None are opposed, the motion carries. If we could invite Councillor Duck back in, thank you.
And where are we at, if we could, please?
We have $12,250 in remaining funding, and I'm losing track of what the requests are.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have 12,000.
250 left.
Thank you, Chair Duck. We did approve $1,500 in funding to Cycling with Outage. I think that's important given we have a total that we're working with. Thank you. I'll turn the floor to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Did you want to move on to the Scout Hall and Councillor Duncan? Thanks. All right, Councillor Rintoul.
Thank you. I'll move $1,000 in support from grants and aid to Sydney Guidance Scout House Society.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Rintoul.
No.
Councillor Garnett. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Passes unanimous. Thank you. Do we recover Councillor Duncan? And while she's coming back, is there the next one wish to consider? Mayor McNeil Smith.
Yeah, I'll just wait for a colleague to
Yep.
rejoin. Sorry, do you want to go ahead and give the announcement that way?
Yes. So, Councillor Duncan, we awarded $1,000 to the Scout Hall. Councillor Rintoul. Oh, Councillor Rintoul.
Yeah, I would like to move that Navy League of Canada and Peninsula Dry Grad Society each receive the amount they've requested in grants and aid. So $1,500 for Navy League and $1,000 for Peninsula Dry Grad.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Motivation, Councillor Rintoul?
No, thank you.
Councillor O'Keefe?
No.
Any further discussion? Voting on both the Navy League and the Peninsula Dry Grad, correct?
Correct.
All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Yes, through you, if we could ask staff what the total is, either that we've granted or have left to grant.
It is now up on screen. We have $8,750 left.
Thank you. I would move that we approve $750 to the Urban Agricultural Society.
Moved. Seconder? No seconder? Okay.
Okay, so, sorry, Chair, I'm gonna call a point of order and go through to our staff. We did have a motion to deny and that motion failed. So if the motion failed to deny, we then have to consider allocating some.
Correct.
So if we
I'll
need
second for discussion.
we
Second
need a
for
seconder and we
under
can certainly amend the amount.
Okay, moved by Mayor McNeil Smith, second by Councillor Rintoul. Discussion, Mayor McNeil Smith.
I motivated at the, when it was previously on the floor.
Okay, Councillor Rintoul.
Yeah, I was inclined to support a slightly smaller amount. I had 500 plan, and this motion's for 750. My preference, would be to address the social service items first, but this is on the floor now, so I'll see what my colleagues think about 750.
Discussion?
Sorry. Thanks.
Councillor Garnett.
Yeah, I likewise had 500 down for similar reasons to the Councillor Rintoul. Thank you.
Further discussion? Motion on the floor is,
Sorry, I'm just a point of privilege, just in process for colleagues. If we're in favor of a different amount, we have the opportunity in process to make an amendment. We've used that before. Denying this, voting against this, and then having a new motion is doesn't seem reasonable.
Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, I'm going to, I guess, move to amend it to 500, because I know that this before was on the table for potentially being denied, and worried with the higher amount, given that most of us who supported it 500. This seems like it's most successful if we go to 500, so
Second.
I'll move that.
Moved and seconded to amend to $500. Discussion? Voting on the motion to amend to $500. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Going back to the main motion, but is amended to $500. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councillor O'Toole.
I'll move $750 grants and aid to Kitty Hawk Sponsoring Committee Society.
I'll
Second?
second.
Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you. In keeping with what we've done in past, certainly appreciate the opportunities they provide for Sydney residents and youth. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Duncan. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. Councillor O'Toole.
I move needs to suicide prevention be provided grants and aid, the amount of $2,500.
Second.
Second by Councillor Garnett. Councillor O'Toole, motivation?
Yeah, thank you. I recognize it's a fairly well-funded organization. I think the work that they do is of paramount importance, and there's some references there as well to sort of the local opportunities for support. I think post-pandemic, this element of mental health challenges in our community at large needs to see some additional support from municipalities as a stopgap measure to try and help solidify support for these organizations. So I'm pleased to see their application and happy to support them at $2,500. Thank you.
Councillor Garnett?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, concur with most of the comments Councillor Rintoul made. I think if there's one positive that I drew out of the pandemic, that it shone a light on this in our youth. Not that we all didn't know it was there before, but it really came to the forefront. And I think if any organization that can provide this kind of service to our youth and our community is extremely important and just invaluable. So I will fully support this. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of awarding need to suicide $2,500? In favor? Motion carries unanimous. Councillor, or Mayor McNeil Smith.
Through you, Chair, to staff, did we for Capital Bike, we defeated a motion to deny, is that correct?
Correct.
I would move that we provide $1,000 in funding to Capital Bike.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Motivated previously, thank you.
Councillor O'Toole. Further discussion? Motion on the floor is $1,000 to Capital Bike. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Opposed? Sorry.
No.
No opposed. Councillor Novak opposed. Okay. Motion passes. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you. If I'm following this correctly, we just have the Friends of St. Andrews as the only application left to consider?
Correct.
Thank you. I would move, could staff provide it's on the screen, $4,000.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would move that we provide $2,000 in funding to Friends of St. Andrews.
Second?
Moved and second. Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you, Chair. While we have provided a $500 annual line item to this organization for quite a number of years, I'm in support of their additional request. We've known, I think, probably most acutely during the food bank fundraising drive that the 3 volunteer fire departments on the peninsula did at Christmas time, how dire the need is. for food services within our community, particularly given the current economic climate.
Seconder, Councillor Duncan.
Nothing to add.
Further discussion? Motion is to give the Friends of St. Andrews $2,000. All in favor? Carries unanimously. Thank you. I also have Fed Urban is still. Did we make a decision on them? No. Yeah. Oh, we did move 500? Sorry. So any others left outstanding that we were new applicants? No? Councillor Novak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that we give Sydney Arts and Media Society or Radio Sydney $800.
They haven't got an application in. Yeah,
They're in the other side? That's,
yeah, yeah. There's no application submitted.
oh, there's no application, I'm sorry. Okay. I withdraw.
Okay, any further allocations or increasing allocations of those already put in place? Councillor Duncan?
Thank you. I see we still have money remaining, so I would move to increase some of these allocations. I don't know, I was just thinking, I guess based on the arguments for the need to suicide prevention, that prevention is worth more, so maybe we could even up what we give to the Kitty Hawk people to actually give them the full amount of the 1,000. More services for youth will hopefully make people feel they have more to live for again. So.
So motion? Second to that motion?
I would like to call a point of order and let you rule on it, Chair, perhaps with the help of staff, is that we have $2,000 unallocated. And while it's certainly a process for us to allocate additional amounts to existing allocations we've provided, one other is to not grant the remaining amount, which we've done in previous years. And the option I would like a answer from staff is, are we able to have a reconsideration motion on a previous denial at this meeting?
Mr. Hisek?
I don't see why not. Certainly, this is at the committee level, and it could be brought back at the council table, so we might as well make the recommendation clean now.
Mayor Neil Smith.
So I just wanted to procedurally go through those options for council procedurally, and I'll cede the floor back to the chair as there was a motion on the floor.
Okay. I'd like to turn to Mr. Humble.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, through the chair. The only thing I would suggest to council is that a reconsideration should be through a majority vote. It is being reconsidered.
Is that 2/3, I believe, isn't it?
I'm seeing it as on my cheat sheet, I'm seeing it as majority, but
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing.
I can withdraw my motion to have that discussion.
Okay. Councillor Garnett.
Through you to staff, if I may. The $2,000 is not allocated at this point in time. If it was not to be allocated, would that be left in, could it be added to next year's grant and aids?
It would remain unallocated and for now, and if no additional requests come in throughout the year for consideration, then it would either fall to surplus or, well, that's the most likely thing. It could possibly be carried forward to next year, but if that's a motion that council would like to make at this time, then that'll remind me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mayor McNeil Smith.
Thank you. I think through our deliberations and through amendments adjusting the amounts that we found a reasonable balance through discussions of council. I would make the motion to reconsider the Mount Newton Center Society application. Needs this.
Second.
Motivation, Mayor McNeil Smith.
Sorry, I think on reconsideration there isn't motivation. I think it's just.
Oh, we have to have, yes, that's right, we have to majority vote for reconsideration.
Yeah.
So all in favor of reconsidering the Mount Newton Society allocation? Opposed? We have a majority vote, so we can reconsider.
Thank you. I would propose,
Oh, yeah, so just
Sure.
relative to, those that voted in the negative, Councillor O'Keefe, Councillor Garnett, and Councillor Duck.
okay,
Sorry.
Councillor Duck, just procedurally, I don't think you raised your hand as opposed.
Correct. I didn't, but I did oppose.
Okay,
Yeah, I understand.
thank you. I would move, Chair, that we grant Mount Newton Society $1,000.
Second.
Discussion? Councillor O'Keefe, or Mayor Smith, do you have any motivation further? Councillor Novak?
I think I motivated previously, and there's not much I can add
Okay.
at this point. I think everybody knows where we're going with this.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. Again, not that, I don't think they do good work, but if we're getting down to looking at where we're going to allocate additional resources, I prefer to allocate them on the youth side. I think we donate a fair amount of resources in Sydney on seniors. I think Councillor Duncan made a good point in terms of upping the amount to, I'd be preferring to support Kitty Hawk with another 250 to meet their allocation, and also upping the amount to need to suicide prevention. So that's where my preference would lie if we're going to use up that additional allocation. Thank you.
Councillor Duncan?
Thank you. Just looking at it now, I think we can up all of these allocations, so I don't see why we couldn't give $1,000 to Mount Newton and up the allocations to others as well.
So, current motion on the floor is to reconsider and allocate $2,000 to Mount Newton. 1,000, sorry. Yeah. Councillor Garnett?
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, 1,000? So I think, to Councillor O'Keefe, I was in the same opinion, but given what Councillor Duncan has said, I think we can find for everybody, so it would be a good compromise. Thank you, Chair.
Further discussion? All in favor of allocating $1,000 to? It's unanimous. Further discussion? Allocations?
Well, we'll do my motion to give Kitty Hawk Sponsoring Committee Society the full amount. Make it rain.
Second.
Any, just through to staff, do we have, is that a reconsideration, or are we just increasing the amount? We're just increasing the amount, am I correct? Okay, so increasing the amount of Kitty Hawk from 750 to 1,000. Is motion discussion? Call the question, all in favor? It's unanimous. Further allocation increases?
Sure.
Councillor Keefe?
Sure. I'll move that we increase the amount to need to suicide prevention from 2,500 to 3,000.
Second. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? It's unanimous. I believe if we're correct, we have $750 left unallocated. Oh, 250, sorry.
Point of privilege?
Yes.
I believe Councillor, through to you, Chair, to Councillor O'Toole, did you have an amount in the upper part of the chart that you were considering a higher amount and suggested you might consider it at a further time?
Yeah, I'm not sure what garner support, though. Can I just clarify, we did do $1,000, yes, to capital bike, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so I will move an amendment to the amount to Sydney Lawn Bowling from $750 to $1,000, so a $250 increase.
I'll second that.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to increase Sydney lawn bowling to $1,000? Unanimous, carried. I think we've allocated all we've got to allocate. Any further comments, other than we should make the final recommendation, which is to staff? There should be a move to Yes? No? Or are we done? You're done. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.